Okay, let's get back into it. And I don't want to spend a lot more time. I would like to give you a little bit of time back here just to make sure you finished off the last quizzes and things. And so you're just finishing off that assignment. But I do want to have a talk about process guidance policy in New Zealand around safe system audits and different processes. And as mentioned, we've got Sam Paisley, the Managing Director of Safe System Solutions New Zealand. Sam's got quite a history in road safety auditing, safe system assessments, and now safe system audits, doing lots of those around New Zealand at the moment, and certainly a lot of road safety engineering, road safety strategizing and design and the like. So Sam's contact details are in there. If you did want to follow up with him at any point after the session, please do and continue that conversation. And if you're in the Auckland area, you can pop in and have a coffee with Sam, and he gets out and about to the other parts of New Zealand as well. But welcome, Sam. Thank you for taking time to have a chat with us.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, it's good. Good to be here.
Now, I'm going to put this up to sort of structure our conversation a little bit, if that's all right. And I do encourage anybody to put questions into the chat as we go, or of course, you can just speak now because we are in that version of Zoom. But maybe, Sam, you want to just talk us through some of these 13 steps in the audit process as it's put into the Waka Kotahi guidelines?
Sure. Right. Number one, I guess, confirming the audit stage. So actually, maybe I'll start with, do you need an exemption or not first? Because that's always a good point to say. Do you actually need an audit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so written into the guide, there is a piece around whether or not you need exemptions and what type of projects it would be suitable for. So generally, safe system audits are required, and it's required for any project getting funding under the NLTP. So they should be uploaded into TO. So when you're not doing a safe system audit, you're technically supposed to do an exemption form. So that could be anything that's negligible safety. So they, in the guide, they specifically talk about maintenance activities as something that you don't really need a safety audit for. Temporary traffic management, of course, has its own specific process. And then the third one is the one that you need to think a bit more deeply on, is when there's network changes that are sufficiently negligible, that doesn't warrant a safe system audit. So that could be other kind of renewal works and things like that, that really you aren't changing the road environment at all, or the safety that much of the road.
Okay. So does that then apply to local controlling authorities or just Waka Kotahi roads, or?
Definitely, because local authorities get their FAR rate from the NLTP. So it is recommended, though, that even if you aren't getting FAR, that you do this, because this is best practice, really. It's just that it's a shall or a must now that it's part of the TO process.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's sort of helping guide decisions. So certainly there's some which is absolutely mandatory. And then for local controlling authorities, if they're doing other works or developers are accessing their network or the like, it's strongly encouraged that this is part of the process.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So if you're a developer and it's not actually on the road, might be an example where you're not getting any kind of NZTA funding, but it's still strongly encouraged, or that the local council puts it into their policies or processes, that they need to do a safe system audit as well to make sure it's safe. So when it does get handed over, that you're going to get something that's safe and up to your standards.
Yep. Wonderful. Okay, so then we confirm the audit stage.
Yep, exactly. So that's something that the client does. So some councils around New Zealand, NTA has actually defined when they will be doing safe system audits in their policies. So they've said scheme design is kind of the ultimate, and then when the project gets a bit higher complexity, they'll do it at multiple, and post-construction. And when it gets a bit higher, they'll do it multiple stages. So really, it's what stage of the project are you at for what you confirm the audit stage to be.
Yep. Okay.
Patricia's asked questions. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah.
So Patricia's asked, do developers have to undertake a safe system audit on roads that are not going to be vested? So in the guide, there's no requirement for them to do from NZTA's point of view, but it's highly recommended that the council get them to. So anywhere that the public's going to be traveling, you want to make sure that there's going to be a safe road environment.
I think that's a good point. So local government has that duty of care that anything that the public will be accessing has had some sort of risk assessment, risk mitigation process, safety assurance process. Now, you don't need to use the safe system audit process, but it's pretty well established and common practice, and you've got lots of resources available to assist with this. You may have other ways you like to do that, which is fine, but you want to make sure they're nicely documented. If that's, individual technical officers reviewing things and documenting, but I think the process is just, easy and set and a good one.
Very good. And Matt's asked, who is responsible for filling out the action taken? Oh, sorry, we'll get to that, Matt, at the end. Right. Audit team selection. Yep, I keep trundling on, yeah?
Yeah, keep going. We've got 13 to get through. We've got to move through them.
I'll start moving quicker, sorry. So yeah, quite important in the guide that the client actually independently contracts the audit team. And so that's a recommendation, or at least chooses the team lead definitively. So it shouldn't be chosen by the design team. So you've got to maintain that independence. That's the main part there. The team leader should have 10 years of experience in the guide and be someone who's basically a road safety specialist. That team leader can then choose generally the audit team who will support them, who should also be road safety or specialist skills. You might choose to bring in a signal designer or a lighting designer for a specialist project. But there's also the option of having observers, which is a really good way of bringing along people that you think would be good to get into road safety or good to get into road safety audits to come and see the process and see how things work.
Yep.
Cool. Safe system audit brief. So in New Zealand, this can take multiple forms. It could just be an email for some of these simpler ones where you have an established relationship, or for the more detailed ones, it's quite nice to sit down with the client and the designer as the safety team to actually go through what the project's about. And that basically, for me, blends into the commencement meeting as well, which is the same sort of thing. And then as a team, this is when you really start to get going. So you'd have a look at all the background documents of the project, the designs, everything like that to see where it's come from. You will then do a safe site audit or a site inspection, sorry. This is where you go out with the team. Really important that you do the site inspection because it gets you that knowledge of the environment and how things work, sort of like those 360 videos that Ken had there, but it's really recommended you get out there to actually see how things operate. You, as an aside, if I was you, I'd be taking out a 360 camera at the same time and taking lots and lots of photos, because you never know, you might miss out on that issue at the time while you're out there, or you might be going back through the designs and pick up something that you didn't quite think about. And so it's good to have all that information ready to go. I'll keep talking. Yeah. Yeah. And then in New Zealand, so a few people do this a little bit differently, to be fair, the debrief meeting. So you can go through with you might go through and select your list of issues. And you might have a debrief meeting, or you might have a debrief email. Some clients actually don't require a debrief meeting. And it's really just to pick up, say, a quick little thing. So these are the issues that we've picked up, especially in post-construction audits. There might be stuff that they have to get to immediately. So it's quite nice to send them, say, over the next week or two, we're going to be writing this up. But we notice that this is really dangerous and you probably need to have a look at it right away. You will then, and this also gives, I guess, the design team and the client maybe a reason why they might be able to say and help judge your thing, reason why they might have gone a certain way with a certain issue, which can help you understand the context of when you're writing it up. Report writing then is really in the name, it's on the can, it's you write the report as Ken's taught you very, very well, I'm sure, over the last 5 modules.
Well, we'll see. We'll see when they submit their assignments how well they got that.
That's true. I'll be reading a lot of them actually this time around.
Good.
But yeah, from what we had in the workshop just a second ago, it sounds like you guys are all over it. That was good. Then, so you've written a report, it's ready to go, it's been reviewed, the team leader you've signed it off, so there's a bit in the format that says the team leader signs off, the safety audit team signs off, and you send to the client. The client generally then, because that's your client, I know this is obvious, the client is your client, but you've been contracted independently from the design team, so generally that will go back to the client. They may ask you to send it, CC it to the designer, but normally they would circulate it to the designer to get their responses. On the template, there is a field where the designer fills in that. So they might say, we did it. This is an issue. Yes, we recognize this is an issue, but we did it this way because of certain reasons. Or yes, we recognize an issue and we recommend to the client that we change the design for this reason. So that's really just the designer's opportunity really then to have a look at the issue and say what they think should happen to the design. Next, the road safety engineer. So this is sometimes gets confused with people that they might be part of the audit team, but it's not. So this is the client's road safety engineer. So big organizations like, I guess, Hamilton as well, that you're on the phone, and Auckland Transport, their safety team specifically might be writing this response in here because the client might be different from the safety team. So they might be, so the walking and cycling team might be having this project, or another team is leading the project. So the safety engineers from the client organization will generally write a response as well to say, it might be that, yes, agree with the auditor, as part of our policies or systems or process, this should actually be like this. And that's basically, it's that road safety engineer making a recommendation to the internal client or project manager what the decision should be. Client decision. So the client decision is, I think, Matt, yeah, you wrote, you wrote about the action taken. So yeah, the client makes the decision on then what it should be. So it might be the project manager from the project, is the usual case in New Zealand, or it could be whoever has that delegation within the client organization. Complete. So that all gets filled out in the template in the report. So however you want to do it, make sure that they have the ability to fill out those boxes in your report. So there's a couple of ways you could do this, is to send them a PDF copy of your initial report and a Word version, or you could lock down a Word version with your parts and just let them to be able to fill in the boxes that they're allowed to fill out. What that does is just make sure that you're comfortable that nothing's getting changed, although it's very unlikely it will. It's a bit of a QA thing. It helps out. Right. Then Matt's question is, the decisions get completed, the report hopefully should get circulated back to you so you can continue to do that learning and understanding of how the clients have come to their decisions. So for new reports, and it gets circulated around the parties. And then the client implements the decision. So that might be, as part of that thing, they've told the designer to make a change or not. And it's the client that ultimately normally would fill out the action taken, Matt, from our side. I have seen the designer do it, but ultimately it's the client that owns the report, so they'd have to review that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that nicely rounds out that assurance that things actually happened as a part of this report. There were recommendations made, people thought about it, they got advice from their safety area, they made some agreed changes, and then things actually happen. So good, we've gone through the 13 steps. A question that did come in there was a sort of practical one around the time taken to write these reports and the like. I can have a first comment and then see what your thoughts are. I mean, it is a somewhat time-consuming exercise to write these up, but it is an important one. I mean, my rule of thumb for a reasonably small safe system audit, like at an intersection upgrade or something like that, would be to allow a couple of weeks to get things in order, find the right people, organize time to go on site. But it's a couple of days, 2 or 3 days at least, in writing up and changing things and adjusting things and pondering it and having somebody then look at the work. So it's not a quick, couple of hour exercise. Sure, you can streamline a little bit of time out of it after you've done one, because you've then got a template that you can grab, but you have to write up each of these ones in their own right. I don't know, Sam, if you've got any other comments?
Oh, no, that's very right. And you've got to remember, you've got a team of people writing it. So they'll have different ideas as well and different thoughts about why risk rating should be that. So you do have to go through a bit of a process of making sure it's everything's right.
Yeah. And yes, there is the temptation to just put in just the table and not have the surrounding documentation and those sort of things. But that is going to potentially cause issues down the track. People will question the legitimacy of the actual report and those sort of things. So follow the template that is there and write it out. And have this conversation with clients early on to ensure their expectations are appropriate. Good question, though. Yeah. Thank you. A couple more from me quickly while we have the opportunity with you, Sam. The disagreements, like, how do you handle disagreements maybe from the designer or the project manager or even the safety team within these places? So you and your team may have come up with a finding, and one of the people along that line says, I disagree with that as an issue, or I disagree with your risk rating or the like.
Excellent. So there's two types of disagreement, I guess I'd say. Within the safety team is one. Ultimately, the team leader is the ultimate arbitrator in the end. But a good team leader will obviously discuss and work through and figure out where everyone's coming from, because there might be a reason why they're disagreeing.
That's the team leader of the audit team.
Audit, yep. So that's if there was a disagreement within the audit team and how they risk rank something to write the report. But then I guess there's the other side of it that you're saying is this could be a disagreement along the lines that they might not agree that's an issue, or the ranking that the audit team has come up with. You, in that debriefing meeting, you should be getting a bit more context and things about when you come up with it. They can ask you to have a look at it, but generally you wouldn't change your audit rating. Ultimately, it's the client is that, again, you as a team leader are the ultimate arbitrators of what you're giving to the client. So that's your professional opinion, basically. That's how you should conduct yourself as a professional. Is if there's a disagreement in the decisions to be made, though, that's the client side as well. So ultimately, it's the project manager or the client delegated person. So there can be clients that might not accept a recommendation. That might be, and there might be good reasons, there might not be great reasons, but it's unfortunate that they're the ones that has the final say, really. They're the ones with the budget pressures. They're the ones that need to produce a project at the end of the day. We are giving our expert opinion, and that's where it lies. That's projects, really.
Absolutely, well answered, and that's the practice really that we try and still around the world in road safety auditing and safe system auditing and safe system assessing, in the fact that this is not a legal document that forces them to do anything. It's an advice piece. It's an expert advice piece. They have the ultimate decision of what is done and what is not done. And when it does occasionally come to those points of absolute disagreement, that's where I move to, and just reminding them, well, there's an area here for you to write your response and justify it. We believe that this is an issue, and that's where we sort of are going to leave it. Yes, it's that awkwardness of, they're the ones paying you as well, but your professional integrity is there on the line, and you got to stick to it. So, well answered. Another one that's come in is it mandatory to include the prompt table and comments in your safe system audit that you submit? And the answer is no, you don't include that whole prompt list out of the back of the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6. We don't want to see that added and included at all. That is there to prompt your thinking only, just thought starters, ideas, things to look at. You just submit the template that Wakatahi provides and that you're using now, filling out your safe system assessment matrix and all your issues. Good question. Thank you. One more, Sam. It came in earlier on in this course, was around the requirements for railway level crossing safe system audits or other assessment methodologies. Now, that's an area you've got quite a bit of expertise into, a lot of level crossing assessments. So can you just explain New Zealand's level crossing assessment processes?
Sure. So I think what you're talking about is the level crossing safety impact assessment. So interesting question, because these are two, there's a slight little overlap, but really they're two different things completely. So from a few years ago now, Kiwi Rail had a coroner's recommendation that came through that said they weren't really risk rating their level crossings appropriately. Traditionally, they'd use just ALCAM surveys, which is the Australian level crossing assessment methodology, which is a good way of doing it. But what they've now done is, in the last few years, is put on an extra layer. It's called the level crossing safety impact assessment. And there are a couple of people I see in the call that are very, very familiar with this as well. So the level crossing safety impact assessment will do a safety review of the level crossing, how it's done, and it'll work through what form the level crossing should take. So it might recommend that you move up from a priority to flashing lights and bells to grade separation, say. And that's what Key Rail will ultimately accept. However, if you look at if it's a transport project and you're looking at the wider approaches to that level crossing, or the safety you'll have intersections, you'll have cyclists going into it, you'll have walkers going into it. The safe system assessment will look at the wider view of it like that, as an approach to the level crossing. So there are two things so you can get away with just doing the level crossing safety impact assessment if you're just focusing purely on the level crossing itself, right at the immediate level crossing. But if you want to have a project that looks a bit wider, that might say, we need signals now to help with the level crossing, then the safe system audit comes into play then and goes into a lot more depth.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, complicated, but
no,
yeah.
It's okay. And if anybody is particularly they've got particular questions around that, they can contact you, Sam, and have a chat about that, and you can guide them there. I think that's about it. Unless anybody else has specific questions for Sam, I think the new safe system audit guidelines do lay a lot of this out in text if you want to dig in and read it. And of course, Wakatahi is taking feedback on this document still. So you are welcome to email that through to Wakatahi, and they're thinking about how they might do any updates that are needed. I think something's just popped in there. Do you have any thoughts on how the safe system assessment audit thinking can be applied as part of the design process, peer review, ahead of formal independent audits? I try to get safe design first. Any thoughts there, Sam?
Yeah, you can still technically do a safe system assessment framework outside of the safe system audit process, which is if you do that early on, that will be very good to understand. If you're not going to do a full safe system audit, that is, it still gets you that safety thinking of what form the intersection might take, etc. Like you might say, well, we've got options between signalizing or roundabouts or raised, and a safe system assessment framework is still a process you can take. Or you could do, we have done in the past, is an initial safety review and then followed up with a formal safe system audit a bit later on once more of the details known.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's good practice, I think, all around is as you're developing up projects and having some of this thinking that you've now got, the fundamentals of as you're going through the development and design process and the planning process. And yes, there will be some point where it's thrown to an external. Often with that package of stuff you hand over, you might have some documentation around your thinking on safety aspects and safe system thinking. So, they will see that. That's absolutely a legitimate process, and you've got that understanding now. And you can do those a bit quicker. Sometimes I know designers have the safe system assessment matrix just sort of sitting on the side, and they sort of quickly jot it out to work out where are things going. They haven't fully fleshed it out the way we would in that independent safe system audit perspective, but it's giving them a little bit of guidance initially. Wonderful. Okay, another question that's coming in. How often does all of these steps get completed? We've had most of the audits that gets accepted by the client, smaller councils, and no pushback comments. Particularly, does step 9 to 12 really happen that often? Maybe with bigger projects, bigger clients. 9 to 12. So we're talking about all the responses and client decisions and completing out and filling out all of that documentation at the end.
Yeah, I'd be surprised that it's not getting completed, really. So for all the ones we do, we make sure that we get a response back as well. So we've learned. So we normally see the designers making that decision. So some smaller ones, the designer could actually be the client, and that could be, because it could all be in-house and it could take really short time. But as a documented process, it's actually quite important that you go through 9 to 12 so you can document how you've thought about how you've come up with a decision. Think about it. I always like to think about these types of things. If my project was in the front page of the newspaper because a fatal happened, can I go back then and show how we've come up with those decisions? And
yeah,
that part is really important to show that.
Absolutely agree. And just documenting it out. And as you say, if it is a small council or something, yes, they might be the same person for a lot of these, and they can just fill that out. But you want to complete that, put it on your record, on file, have it there, closed out. I remember a lawyer once when I was in a road authority stressing the importance of that and saying to me, if we find that uncompleted, unfilled out, that's the smoking gun we're looking for, from a legal perspective. So yeah, important to fill it out. Great. Thank you, Sam. That was really wonderful. It's helped out a lot there. Of course, if you've got further questions, anybody, please get in contact with Sam. I'm going to have to just move on because I've got a few little things to cover. That conversation's been wonderful. Let me just finish this off. So these are the documents. They're in the learning management system, but of course they're all available online. There's more information in there. You can have a read of those as you go. We've got the Wakatahi Safe System Assessment Guide, Safe System Audit Guidelines, Australia's Guide to Road Safety Part 6, and the Safe System Assessment Framework. Now, I did have in here a little exercise, which I always just have at the end, depending on how much time we've got. We're not going to go through these. I was going to look at some different road environments and particular safe system characteristics. We've actually done most of this quite nicely throughout the session, so I don't need to do that with you. But there's a Wally just in case. But there's no more Wallies in the course. So what I'm actually going to do now is just share my screen of the way you're going to complete this course. And sorry, bear with me a second here. I'm going to share the other screen. Always fun. Here we go. So hopefully you are seeing there the learning management system. And of course, you will have to have gone through and made sure you've completed each quiz. So anywhere there's a square box there, it's got to have a tick next to it. So complete all your quizzes in each of the modules. And you're going to have to complete a quiz for today, which covers off a raft of things from the course, just generally overview that you've picked up the key concepts and the like. So you've got one more quiz to do. Of course, you're going to have to submit your safe system audit, and Sam and his team there in New Zealand are going to be marking those, providing you feedback. And if you need to resubmit, that's okay. You've got a few attempts to get yourself over that 80% mark. And you can always organize a one-on-one coaching session with one of our senior auditors who will help you out to make sure you're clear on how to write it up and the like. Remember, you're only finding 3 issues, but you're filling out the safe system assessment matrix. Then once you've done all that, you've got ticks in all of these boxes, all throughout everything. You go to this final bit, which is to provide course feedback. You need to get a tick there. Once you've done that, then your certificate will release. Assuming you've ticked all of the other boxes and you've done the feedback, certificate will release. And as soon as you have done that last one, we will be alerted, and then they will put together a little pack for you with any prizes you've won along the way and your certificate, and you'll get that in the post at some point in the future. Now, if you would like to share your achievement online, and we do encourage people to let others know that they have this safe system audit capability and that they have done the course, that little share your achievement online, we've got some standard words which you may consider using or make up your own. And we've got a few little badges that you can use online. So you can simply save that, download that, and then post it online. These ones are nice little GIFs, so they move. There's a solid one if you wanted to stick it on a photo or something like that. So you can download them here, or you could just do a right click and I think save as, save them. That one's got a bit of wording in it. So they're for you to use. Certainly tag in Safe System Solutions, and we'll like and share and the like to promote the fact that you're out there and you're somebody who can help inject safety into projects and help with that sort of thinking. So that's right there in the final bit in the feedback and certificates section. That was that folder there. So on that note, I think we're pretty much at the point where I want to just give some thank yous, and I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedules to learn a process that really can improve the lives of our community. We hardly ever know who we're actually saving, but we know we're improving our community safety, and I think that's such an important and valuable thing for us to do. I personally just love the fact that we can use technical knowledge, technical skills, some prediction of road user behavior and failure, and then use that to lessen the number of our community killed and seriously injured. And it's such a devastating thing for individuals and families and others when these and the whole community when road trauma happens. The fact that you're looking to upskill to ensure that the work you do has the best safety features, I think is so absolutely wonderful. I always love New Zealand groups. I do run this course around the world. And I love New Zealand groups, not just because of their logical way of looking at things and their technical knowledge and expertise, but they're also fun and they get involved. And so you've done that and you've proven it again. So thank you very much. Thanks to Sam for popping in to give us some of that very local context and has such a wealth of knowledge in New Zealand road safety practices that it's always useful that we can ask those specific questions. I've done a fair bit of work in New Zealand, but it pales in comparison to the amount that Sam has done. And so I'm looking forward to getting over there early next year, hopefully, and touring around a bit and go and look at some sites. So hopefully we'll get to visit a few of you when we arrive in your town. Do keep in contact with Sam. He's a valuable resource in terms of sharing information with you, pointing you at people who have done investigations into specific safety issues that we can learn from and share that knowledge. And we're all about, doing that and sharing the knowledge. And of course, keep in contact with me if you've come up with issues that you want to have a chat about. Shoot me an email, shoot me a message through LinkedIn if you want. It's worth following Safe System Solutions if you don't already on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, we do put out quite a bit of road safety engineering content, usually for auditors or others or designers to just be aware of some of the recent thinking in specific topics. We call them safe system snippets, and a few of those go out a week at least on specific topics. So worth following Safe System Solutions, and you can keep up to speed. But once again, I say thank you and keep in contact if there's anything in order to complete this course that you need assistance with. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you at a future Safe System Solutions course. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.